All right, Alex, take it away.
Oh, well, time for another wonderful episode of Fabulous Film and Friends.
Chilling. More chilling than ever.
Just get on with the damn show.
It's back to Gotham City this week on the Triple F as we follow up our review of Matt Reeves The Batman and discuss Todd Phillips' 2019 gritty blockbuster, Joker, starring Joaquin Phoenix in his Oscar-winning performance as the Clown Prince of Crime, and co-starring Robert DeNiro, Zazie Beetz, Francis Conroy, Shea Wighham, Bill Camp, Brett Cullen, and a whole other host of Oh That Guy supporting players. I'm your host, Gino Caputi, and my guests today are the show regulars David Johnson, D.M.D., Burton Brown, Alex Robertson, and making his first Fabulous Films appearance, the once king of Portland News Radio. He read them all, KPAM, KEX, KXL. He had a dame on each arm and a roll in his pocket that would choke a buffalo. Sure, he's been out of the beat for a while, but this podcast is just the thing to put him back on top, baby. Please welcome another good college friend and former roommate, Nicholas Workhoven. Mark was the Joker for Halloween in 1990, back when Jack Nicholson's Joker was all the rage. And Mark, as your first appearance, hit us with your best Jack Nicholson impersonation.
Well, unlike everyone else on Earth, I don't really have a Jack Nicholson impression. What I do have, though, is a giant noggin. So I thought I'd be a good choice to play the Joker, just because I, have one big melon on me. But yeah, other than that, I didn't really have anything to be the Joker. Just the big head. That was my main qualification there.
Well, you had the smile. I do remember everybody was impressed, myself included. I tore you down because deep down I was jealous.
You know, tore someone down? No
if it was a big head, everybody could play the Joker. All right, here's the synopsis. Joker is the fifth out of 6 big screen interpretations of the comic book character, but the first solo film about him, and it is essentially an origin story cataloging the rise and fall of down-and-out birthday clown and aspiring stand-up comedian Arthur Fleck, who suffers from a social isolation and awkwardness. Arthur is also delusional, a trait he's either inherited or was inflicted upon him by his sickly, drug-addicted mother, and he has a disturbing condition that produces a hysterical, uncontrollable laughter when he is under stress. He is constantly bullied, abused, and humiliated, and basically stays that way the whole movie until he decides to kill a group of bullying Wall Street jerks on a subway, and then things really start to heat up, where inexplicably, people start to follow him, and he starts to believe he is destined for greatness. Alex Robertson, is this a Joker movie? Is this character the Joker?
No, he is not. It's a reasonable facsimile. It's a guy who wants to be the Joker.
What makes the Joker, Alex?
What makes the Joker? A certain amount of charisma. An undeniable attractiveness, especially to the more criminal element out there. Somebody that's just, I guess, the embodiment of anarchic glee. What every kid would want to do. Who's being told what to do, as opposed to being told what to do. That guy does whatever he wants, and boy, he just laughs about it.
Right.
I want to be just like him.
Right.
And with Joaquin Phoenix, as wonderful and flawless as his performance is, you don't see a guy that has that charisma.
Right. He's not going to inspire Harley Quinn to ditch being a psychiatrist and join him.
Exactly. How can this guy convince other people to do his bidding?
Yeah, there should be an element of Dionysus to Joker. Don't you agree?
Sort of that bacchanalian.
It should be like everybody wants to just throw their clothes off and kill people for him, But the movie has all this, but I don't get it through Joaquin Phoenix. He just seems like the most pathetic person on earth.
Yeah, no, he's not Mick Jagger. I mean, you've got to have that Mick Jagger charisma.
Yeah, Dave, you agree with that?
No, I agree. I think in his own mind, he was developing that charisma in the film. I mean, you could see he started taking on the persona. But I don't think he's a Jack Nicholson Joker.
Right.
I mean, but it was a different vibe. And, I look at it like, to me at the end, and again, I may be interpreting too much, but I just looked at Joaquin Phoenix's character inspired the Joker, the idea of the Joker. And so someone else may have followed in his tracks and said, hey, this guy caused a lot of problems, had the makeup. Now I'm going to take that persona on and carry it on.
Well, this is where the movie doesn't work at all for me, because it's set in 1981. It sort of mirrors the Bernard Goetz crime story. I don't know if everybody remembers that, but he was a subway killer. He was a Weasley little white nebbish guy who killed a bunch of black assailants on a subway.
Didn't kill them.
Well, that's right. He shot them. That's right.
Shot them.
Right.
No.
That's right. But everybody took his side for a while. So that's what the movie's mirroring, except the movie doesn't want to get into the racial aspect. So it's Wall Street guys. And I'm going, 1981, nobody was going to root for the death of Wall Street guys. This just doesn't work to me as a period piece. Like, what? No way. They'd have been so mad, especially if you're going to make a commentary about racism. It's like, well, that in 81, they'd have been furious, and Wall Street would have been furious, and they would have caught whoever did it. You know what I mean? Like, this movie doesn't work. And it seems like it's setting the movement in the present day, and then using 1981 to me is like, this is a mishmash. It wants to be an 80s movie, but it doesn't have an 80s movie sensibility in that regard. So I think the Joker inspiring a movement doesn't work whatsoever if you said it in the past. I'd say today, sure. I think we have a very nihilistic present, and I think that could have worked if they didn't set it in 1981. But I'm like, as a period piece, no, I don't buy it at all. And I think that's where Todd Phillips messed up, because he could have tackled it if he wanted a very incendiary movie, but he backs off and he makes it very generic. Like, so it's a 1981 set movie with today's outlook. Anybody agree to that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that makes sense. Yeah, but I mean, again, it doesn't really matter when the film is set. All that matters is what the intended audience is for the film when it's made. I mean, you could also say the same thing about Grease. It's like, hey, were they really listening to disco music back in the 50s? I mean, come on. How much like the 50s is this really? I mean, but it doesn't matter because it's made for a 70s audience. It's 70s, 50s. And, you watch an old Western with, John Wayne or whoever, and it's like everyone has this slicked back hair, and everyone looks like they're from the 1950s. And it's like, I'm pretty sure cowboys sleeping in the desert every night, don't look like that. I mean, you could, if you want to open that can of worms, you could say that, but it's always the audience that's watching the film now. And, with Occupy Wall Street and, after, the 2008 Wall Street collapse and everyone was so furious at Wall Street, for audiences now, it makes sense. And sure, it's set back in the 80s, but, who's to say it's our 1980s? All that stuff happened.
That's true.
In the 1980s in the world of the film.
That's true.
Well, I mean, I always make
you're right. It is Gotham City. It's not New York City. You're right.
Yeah, that's how I saw it. This is the cartoon or the comic book version.
Well,
presented.
okay, but if I read a comic book like this, Bert, but if I read a comic book like this, Bert, I would give up comic books for good and just go back to novels.
Well, that was the problem. I never got the comic book aspect in this movie, as opposed to the Batman that we covered last week, because the Gotham and just the reality in the Batman movie has that feel of a comic book.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't saying that the movie felt like a comic book, but the
storyline
is, it's not trying to tell you that's what it really was like in 81. It's like, this is the story that I'm telling you, in the 81 that I'm telling you about, happens to mirror some of what today is, where Wall Street's not, loved by everyone.
Well, I guess the thing is, Burton, for me, is like there's a certain gravitas in this movie that works for like one of the movies it's so shamelessly borrows from, the Taxi Driver, Martin Scorsese's.
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the things that I was conflicted with. It's like, okay, I'm supposed to buy that this guy's going to become the Joker, but
crosses a line. I say the movie crosses a line into reality. That it goes so far into reality that like I criticized Chris Nolan's movies for that, But this movie crosses a line so far into a sad, realistic look at mental health, where it really looks like I'm watching a movie about a disabled person. And even if he does become a criminal, there's no fun in it.
No.
You know? Like, how is this going to be a fun comic book story?
Well,
it
well, yeah, compare that to, the ending of Taxi Driver.
Yeah.
I mean, you do essentially have sort of an unreliable narrator, so to speak, but the fact that he just gets away with it, which just seemed more rooted in reality.
Yeah.
And that was a 70s movie, but again, you're making this, are you making a comic book or are you making a real movie?
Anytime the movie veers into the comic book mythology, it just throws you straight out of it. Like, I don't know what this movie tried. I mean, I get it's a hit, and I guess people love the character, but I'm trying to figure out why they love it so much.
Yeah.
Mark Workhoven, any comments? Why was this $1 billion smash? It's a downer.
Well, I know that you think, well, in the comics, the Joker's fun. And I understand that. Believe me, I understand that thought. It's like, I want my psychotic murder to be fun. This film, and I understand that. I mean, I get it. But, Adam West's Batman was fun,
Yeah.
And I love it. But this film was trying to do something else. It was trying to be, like what Alex was saying about Taxi Driver, or you could say another Martin Scorsese film, Rupert Pupkin from King of Comedy.
Yeah.
This film was trying to just do something completely different. It was trying to say, this is what a psychotic murderer would be like in the real world. It was trying to make it more realistic.
Then you can't have Batman in it.
I'm sorry?
But if you cross that line and do that, where does Batman come in? Because Batman,
he'd have to be nuts too.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I have a question. So do you think that, the Heath Ledger Joker was out obviously prior to this?
Yeah.
Do you think that had any influence on how this script was going? Because he was more of a dark Joker.
Yeah, and again, he's telling all these stories about abuse, but see, Heath Ledger's Joker still, I think Chris Nolan at least kept it in a
comic book.
Well, it kept it in a larger than life.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Shell. Yeah. Like, okay, it still works. He still works as a good foil for Batman. Whereas I don't see how this guy would be anything but like when Thomas Wayne punches Arthur Fleck, that just seems like, that's pretty much the end of it.
Even Batman's dad could take out the Joker. Yeah. He doesn't really seem like a criminal mastermind in this movie.
He doesn't. But Heath Ledger's Joker, Dave, does. He can he beats everybody at their game. He's tough to deal with. They're scared. The mob is scared of him. And this movie makes me appreciate Chris Nolan's Batman, because at least in that Joker, he's so formidable that the whole city's afraid of him, and that's to me that's at least a good angle on the Joker. My issue always has been with those movies with Batman himself, where it's like, come on, Batman's more of a problem than he is a solution, and that's my issue there. But anyway, did you notice Joaquin Phoenix's glorious performance? Because he does, despite all my criticism, it's a captivating, amazing performance for sure.
Well, I noticed it in that I wasn't, I didn't think of him as Joaquin Phoenix. He was able to act in a way that I didn't, see him as his real self, I guess, if you want to put it that way. I thought the weird laughing thing kind of threw me off, but maybe that was just the discomfort level, where he was laughing when he gets nervous, he laughs, and then he has to have the card. I'm not laughing at you. I have a condition, that part was like, that just, I don't know. It came across fake, but maybe that's what it's really like. I don't know. I thought it was good.
I thought that was a play on the Jack Nicholson smile or the Heath Ledger slices. Like, it was just seemed like a variation of why Joker's seen as the Joker. In Jack Nicholson's version, his smile is permanently attached to his face or permanently grafted into his face. And then in Heath Ledger, he did it himself. or who knows, you know, he's never going to let you know how it happened, but he keeps telling you a different reason. And in this, it's like, okay, in this version, he's got this uncontrollable laugh, which is where,
well, he's also a wannabe comedian, and he, you know, wears clown makeup for his job. You know, so there's different aspects of so-called joking or jokerishness in there.
Sure. Well, this movie has it all.
But I would agree with that. So.
Except any fun.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, maybe they should have gotten Adam West to be in Joker. That would have been a real contrast. Adam West's Batman versus Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. That would have been weird. But I mean, yeah, it's not as fun. But I mean, is Taxi Driver fun? Is King of Comedy fun? I mean, at what point do you say, no, comic book movies can't do that? You know, they can't be dramatic character studies. They have to be for kids, and they have to be fun, and they shouldn't go down that road.
I don't say they have to be for kids. I say that they have to have, to me, comic book movies are like James Bond movies. If you're going to tell the tale of this depressed, boring, womanizing, abusive man, then you've ceased to make a James Bond movie, because why do I want to watch this? And that's, I mean, except for Joaquin Phoenix's amazing performance, I don't understand where this fits into a comic book world.
Yeah. So
change the term.
Yeah.
Change the term comic book to graphic novel, I guess.
Yeah, that's like, I'm a trekker, not a trekkie. I'm a trekker. Like, give me a break. You're a nerd.
Always back with the trek.
It will always go back.
Always go back.
That's because remember, Star Trek did it first. Everything that's ever happened in life, Star Trek did it first.
Who was in Star Trek that was in this movie, or in the background or somewhere?
That one I can't answer.
Yeah.
Anybody know? Mark?
Yeah, hey, smart guy.
Any Star Trek actors in Joker?
6 degrees of Star Trek.
Yeah.
There you go.
Someone worked with Kevin Bacon who worked with someone in Star Trek. I can't think of.
Dave, answer that question. Can you have a comic book movie that's not for kids and that's not interesting or not that it's not interesting, not exciting in the conventional action sense?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think comic books, it's a big umbrella, right? I think you can have some for adults, some for kids. But back to your question, Joaquin Phoenix was straight up amazing in this. And I think if you had any other actor, I don't know if it would have been the success it would have.
No.
And the one scene I remember, he has his shirt off. I think he's at the clown factory or whatever it was called. But, he's leaning over and you can see his ribs and his back. And I just thought, okay, if that's not CGI, I mean, this guy was all in on this part. He was amazing. To me, he made the movie.
Plus, don't you think, I think, and I bet you if you talk to him, he'd mumble something about, yeah, that's what I was doing. He made himself look like the comic book Joker, and without makeup, without Jack Nicholson's, stupid prosthetic. He like all these angles when he's talking to the psychiatrist, the first one who gets her funding cut. The camera's like under her, like she's dirty in the frame, meaning she's in the frame. You're looking at him, and he's just he's got this giant, like half moon smile on his face, and he looks just like the comic book. So to me, and it's almost like, look at all that work for a character who doesn't seem like the Joker. That's what it looks like to me. It's like he looks physically like the Joker. Even when he's not wearing giant clown shoes, he seems like he's wearing giant clown shoes.
Yeah.
Like, his feet always look big. He's always wearing like white socks.
And he's sliding all over when he's running,
It's physically an amazing performance. Like everything's there except the mastermind quality. And I think that's what makes, I agree with you. You can make a comic book about anything, but if you want to make the Joker into what he's going to be, which is the king of crime in Gotham, he has to have something that shows he's a mastermind.
I saw that. Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Go, Bert. Go ahead.
I saw that part as that this is still the development story of his character. He hasn't developed that yet. He hasn't recognized it yet. He hasn't seen it yet. He gets a little bit of taste of it when he's walking around and everybody's wearing masks like he was, or some kind of clown mask, because the news said that the perpetrator wore masks, or wore a clown mask. So people were out imitating whoever they heard about on the news. They didn't know it was this guy.
Did they?
But so he didn't have a chance to develop that or even understand if he's capable of it. That people really will be following me, and I can manipulate them, and I can, use them, and then I can do. He may not. He's not at a point where he would, recruit all these criminals to do all these criminal acts because he wasn't there yet. And that's how I always saw it. I mean, I understand all your points. They totally make sense. But when I first saw this, I'm like, okay, here's this sad sack, that coming up through life. And then he has a psychotic break of some kind because he's got a mental illness, and he starts killing people, and then he has this weird laugh with his nervousness. And then some point later on that you don't see in the film, he becomes this criminal mastermind. That's kind of how I always saw it. But
well, sure, but that's, to me, reminds you a little bit of the Phantom Menace. Like, in what way is this boring little boy evil or going to be like Darth Vader? And Lucas will say, "Oh well, he's a good kid to start with," and and you're like, but. Okay, but I gotta have something. You gotta give me something here. I gotta know that he's somehow gonna be Darth Vader.
He has those cells in
well,
his
he was
blood.
a slave, I guess.
What are those little creepy
No.
things in his blood?
But still, it's an oddly, yeah.
Yeah.
It's an
Mark,
oddly.
do you care to weigh in on this? Am I making a fair comparison?
Oh, that's a good comparison.
As a man who rewrote the Phantom Menace to his
I did.
specifications.
Way too much time rewriting that entire movie.
Yeah.
But I mean, having the Force as a blood disease, like it's sickle cell anemia or something, is a pretty lame idea. But yeah, I mean, baby Darth Vader, he should be out there torturing animals or doing something creepy, It's like, oh, what a cute little boy. It's like, he's supposed to be future Hitler. We're not rooting for this kid. He should be dissecting womp rats or something.
Yeah.
Pulling wings off flies.
Yeah, something.
No.
But I like what Bert was saying, because he does, the Joker as a character, he does become the Joker, once he goes nuts, he becomes a different person. In the Killing Joke graphic novel, the Joker's pretty pathetic in that too, before he becomes the Joker.
Right.
So yeah, he might become a criminal mastermind later on, in a point we don't see. But the problem, not a problem necessarily with the film, but just something interesting about the film is that it's such an unreliable narrator. I mean, for half the scenes with his girlfriend's not even there.
Yeah.
He's established very clearly as an unreliable narrator, like what Alex was saying earlier.
Yeah.
And so I kind of took it as, that none of this ever happened. He never inspired a movement. He never inspired an army of clown masked, wannabes to follow him around and, worship him while he dances on a car. He imagines all this stuff as he's, crouching in a fetal position in some mental institution somewhere, and it's all in his head. And I think the film kind of implied that at the end of the film, that he just made it all up. And it's like what you're saying about James Bond movies. Nobody wants to see a James Bond movie where James Bond is in a mental institution and he's just this crazy guy who imagines all of his missions, and he made it all up. That's a James Bond movie nobody wants to see. So I understand that nobody wants that from Joker.
Okay, you bring up a good point, because if there was Batman, if we went through a trilogy, let's say, of all this, and we settle back that it was all the delusions of a madman in a mental institution, I'd say sure. Who else would think of a guy with a bat car and a bat helicopter and a bat cycle? Like, everything's got a bat on it. Like, yeah, that is the rantings of a loon. But this movie, then the movie already, like, it's too impatient. If it's all in his head. And here's another big question, because I hate that concept. Most movies. Give me one good movie. One of you has already mentioned it, so I already know the answer. But really, give me one good movie where it's all in his head.
Fight Club.
Alex Robertson. Okay, you said it.
Yeah, Fight Club. Yeah.
That's the one. But give me another
Shutter
one.
Island.
How many movies where it's
Shutter
all in
Island.
his head that you're going, boy, that's a satisfying movie?
Wizard of Oz, 1939.
Well, I guess
It was
part
all
of,
a dream.
Bobby Ewing. in Dallas. He was
That's
in the
not a movie.
shower the
We
whole
don't
time.
we don't discuss TV shows, especially
I don't
Dallas,
care.
on this
Oh my
podcast.
I'm trying to think of something. The latter part of Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. Okay.
You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
you
most
got
of it
me.
I think does, but the latter part, the whole, did he really escape? No, but
Okay.
but yeah, gosh.
All right, I'm
anything
wrong, but
else?
when I think of Kaiser the Usual Suspects, there's so many movies where come on, help me out there. How many movies where it's all a dream or it's all in the character's head? I just think that's the lamest cop out.
Yeah, usually I agree. Usually it's a huge cop. I mean, it's a cliche how much everyone hates it when the movie ends. It's like, it was all a dream. And therefore, all of your emotional investment in this film was all a waste of your time. Fooled you! I mean, I hate movies that do that. But with Joker, I didn't.
Fight Club was good. I give
Fight Club did well, yeah.
Yeah.
And with Joker, I didn't mind it either because Joker he's supposed to be nuts. He's supposed to have kind of a tenuous connection to reality anyway. The film's told from his point of view.
Then
so it kind of fits the character if it's all made up in his head, because the Joker is a guy who makes up his own past as he goes along anyway.
I'm fine with that, but how about it's like Batman 1 or Tim Burton's Batman 1, and he's a genius. He's like Max Fisher solving the math problem in the beginning. Like everything he does is just awesome. And maybe we do cut to some sort of parallel reality, like in, say, Mulholland Drive or something, where we find what a dumb loser he is. But somehow, if it is in his head, then shouldn't he be awesome at doing whatever he thought he was doing, stirring the pot and making everything go to his specifications? That's exactly how I planned it. I mean, shouldn't that be the movie? Because I'm like, I'm not seeing Joker in this whatsoever.
So the first time I watched it, I kind of took Mark's viewpoint. I thought this could all be in his head. Because that's at the end of the film.
The movie shows that to you when they show the girlfriend's not there.
Yeah. But the second time I watched it, I didn't take it so much. I just thought he was a delusional, person that's just down and out, dealing with a lot of things happening in Gotham society, and nothing ever works out. So I did take that the first time I watched it. As I rewatched it today, it didn't hit me like that. But I mean, I agree that's a possibility. But I do agree with your point. If it's all in his head, it's like should be working out. How, I don't know. It seemed like there was a lot of pain for this character if it was all in his head.
Right. So King of Comedy, most of it's in his head, to the point where he embarrasses himself because he doesn't know. There's a brilliant scene in King of Comedy, Dave, where Robert De Niro visits Jerry Lewis because in his head he thinks that Jerry Lewis invited him over to his house. so fantasy and reality cross in the most achingly embarrassing scene ever put on film, where Robert De Niro brings a girl and he's dancing with her in Jerry Lewis's living room, and Jerry Lewis is just watching them in utter disgust. I'm laughing out of the sheer humiliation I felt when I first saw it. You couldn't get a more embarrassing scene. This movie never gets us there. It never gets us to the where, well, he created something and went out and brought it to the real world. If he did, he just gets like Mark and everybody said, he gets the crap kicked out of him the entire movie. So is that his worldview? Because most people
because in your mind it's an escape, right?
Right.
So if his real life is down and out and he's creating this, you would think it would be, his reality would be better than what we're seeing in the film, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Because you're right.
I saw it as parts of it were certainly in his delusion or his imagination or daydream or whatever you want to call it. But that I thought some of it were supposed to be reality, but it was hard to tell which was which. And then, I did some reading a little bit on the internet about the movie, and so I guess some of the Reddit people and some of the other people on the internet were trying to say that it was all in his head, And so when I was watching it, I was looking for that. And I didn't get that impression over the whole movie, but certainly with, some of the girlfriend scenes and the one scene when he's on the talk show, on their version of the Tonight Show or the Johnny Carson Show or whatever you want to call it.
Or Todd Phillips' version of the Jerry Langford Show.
Yeah.
Replete,
was like,
replete with Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
So that part, I'm like, okay, I realized that was while he was watching it, he was fantasizing about being on it.
Yeah.
So there was some of that, but it was I didn't get the impression that the whole movie was, imaginary or imagined or whatever.
So he kills the nurse in the end, right? So we
I
see.
think so.
Yeah, no, he does.
Yeah,
He's got bloody
The
foot.
bloody feet,
So
yeah,
he's killed her, and he's going off. He's being chased. Do you think that's in his head? I think he really did it, right? So
Right, but how did he get how did he get from dancing in the streets after killing the talk show host? How did he end up back in the nut house? For
you hear sirens. You hear sirens.
Yeah.
Let's just when he's
He
dancing.
just assumed that they caught him.
You hear the siren.
Yeah.
That's the transition. You hear the sirens right
Yeah.
after he's dancing on the cop car, and you assume, he gets caught. Alex, I'll just get to you. Obviously, you agree. Joaquin Phoenix, give me your estimation of his performance.
One of the greats, I'd have to say. And I've been a big fan of his for quite a few years now. I don't think it started like with you with Gladiator.
Well, the Gladiator is the first time I noticed him as a good actor.
When you noticed him, I actually go back to the Gus Van Sant movie because I'd forgotten all about Joaquin Phoenix back when he was, I think, Leaf Phoenix, and he was in like the movie Rooskies. He had that raspy voice.
Yeah.
And he was annoying. He was just such an annoying child actor. Chubby.
Yeah, he and Corey Feldman should have duked it out back then.
Duked it out, and they didn't. But then he just disappeared. And then when I watched To Die For, the Gus Van Sant movie, and this guy, like, well, who is that guy? I'd never, as if he was like some fresh discovery, only to find out, oh, it was Joaquin, aka Leaf Phoenix.
Yeah.
So
I've never seen the movie to this day.
It's it was he really did he did something right, I think. Well, from that period of his brother's death to that point, I think a lot of soul searching, I would imagine, and it's just come out in his acting.
Right.
So
well, the Master, would you agree the Master is the first time I realized he's in the top tier?
Yeah.
Dave, Mark, Bert, anybody seen The Master?
Yeah, yes, I saw it, and yes, he was brilliant in it. He was brilliant in Her. I mean, I just recently saw Parenthood. He's in that with Keanu Reeves, and I thought, hey, it's Neo and Joker in a movie together. That's cool. And he was just a kid in Parenthood,
That's right.
He wasn't the Joker yet, obviously, but even as a kid, he was a really good actor. Noticeably more talented than other actors that were kids in the movies at the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think he's very talented.
Do you think Robert De Niro is any good in this film? Mark Workhoven, we'll start with you.
He does a great job playing Robert De Niro.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think his character doesn't work.
I know why they got him, because the film is an homage. I know, Gino, that you think it's just a ripoff, but a fancy word for ripoff is homage. It's not a ripoff, it's a tribute. But however you want to call it. They got Robert. It's not a coincidence they got Robert De Niro. They got him because he was Taxi Driver. He was in King of Comedy. They wanted him in their Martin Scorsese homage movie. I don't really buy him as a talk show host because Robert De Niro does not seem like a talk show host at all.
No.
You see him on actual talk shows, and you can barely get 2 words out of the guy. I mean, he's a great actor, but he's terrible at comedy.
But I don't. Do you think the reason he's bad in this is the acting or his interpretation of the talk show host or the script? I think the script is incredible. Whoever wrote it doesn't understand talk show hosts, I think. Yeah. It just seems like he seems the most confrontational, bullying, like arrogant, stupid jerk ever to get on a talk show. And see, Jerry Lewis doesn't, and that's the difference in King of Comedy. In this, it's like, okay, this guy is just a jerk to begin with. And you can see why people were out. If if he's the most popular guy on TV, you can see why everybody's happy he's dead. You know,
Yeah.
because I'm like, talk show, the Johnny Carsons of the world don't act like this. You know, they're not really confrontational. The minute he said he killed somebody, I would think a good talk show host would get up, call the police. All right, you know, you see the producer going, cut, like, yeah, that's what you would do the minute somebody starts admitting to killing somebody. Like, oh no, let's keep it going. This isn't Barbara Walters, it's a comedy show. You know, it's a late night talk show. It's not, you know, it's not some newscast. So, you know, like, let's keep them on the line and keep them talking. Like,
more on the
cops get here.
It just seems such a contrived part, and I think Robert DeNiro is really, really bad in it. As bad to me as Harrison Ford in Blade Runner 2. Like, wow, he's just losing his whole mojo.
Well, maybe he was being hunted.
We were being haunted. Yeah, I think the De Niro of 1983 would have been a great talk show host, given the job. I just think he's, you know, only Ralph Macchio rivals Robert De Niro in just totally sucking in his old age.
That's a tall order.
They just like take him from Meet the Parents and just insert him, and he's the same person.
Like, whoa, all the divorces and the money, he just sucks. And Harrison Ford, Al Pacino, and Robert De Niro, just the three old guys who suck. Like, all my heroes suck in their old age.
Well, William Shatner doesn't.
No, Shatner just gets better and better.
He's gold.
He went into space, okay?
And then
all right, let's get into this. Mark Workhoven, any characters not Joaquin Phoenix of note and not Robert De Niro of note in this film? Any supporting players?
Oh, well, the woman who plays his girlfriend, or not really his girlfriend, his murder victim, but yeah, she plays the part of his girlfriend in his insane fantasy. I thought she was good. I thought she had some charisma. I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head, but I thought she was fine. The woman who plays his mother, she seemed appropriately strung out for the role.
Yeah, it's Zazie Beetz, by the way, who's playing his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I thought she was fine. I thought the whole cast was pretty good. I liked the midget. I thought he was. He seemed appropriately terrified trying to get out of the Joker's apartment.
That's a great scene.
A frightening, that's a frightening scene. And he does the jump scare. That's the one Joker moment when he does the jump scare.
Yeah.
When he's like, you're like, bah! You know? Oh, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, that's true. He does sort of come alive in that scene.
That is like there's a bit of the Joker, but we should have seen that earlier.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's a good scene.
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, I was going to say, I like what Dave said about how maybe this isn't the real Joker. I mean, we're talking about how it's really not like Joker from the comics at all, and it's true. He kind of isn't. But Dave was saying, you know, that maybe he's not really the Joker. He's just some crazy guy with clown makeup who inspired the real Joker later on, and maybe the next Joker is more like Jack Nicholson. But he kind of was inspired by this guy.
Well, if there's a new actor, if it's Jared Leto playing Joker in Joker 2, then fine, I'll believe you. But I'm pretty sure Joaquin Phoenix is signed on to play the Joker in Joker 2.
That's the rumor.
I'm sure
I think that torpedoes the idea. Unless they get Hayden Christensen to play his protege.
Oh, low blow! Wow.
Oh, he's a good kid in the beginning. Hayden Christensen.
Yeah, right.
No, it wasn't. Danny Lloyd. Danny Lloyd. He's really the one.
Jake Lloyd.
See, I can't even.
Poor Jake Lloyd.
Jake Lloyd. Yeah, poor. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, my question is Batman in the Joker 2? I mean, when we see him in Joker 1, Batman's like 12 years old. So, I mean, what are they going to do? They're going to fast forward? If the only way they could have Batman in this movie is if they fast forward to when Joaquin Phoenix is like 78 years old. I mean, what kind of challenge is it going to be then? You know.
Well, Robert Pattinson. See, this is why I thought Robert Pattinson was perfect if they were going to pair them together, because Robert Pattinson's young, but now doesn't appear to be the continuity. So Robert Pattinson is in his own universe, Joaquin Phoenix is in another universe.
Yeah.
And Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. And I hope George Clooney shows up again.
Oh.
Let's get the good old days with George Clooney and the Batman.
Yeah.
The
Cocking his
Clooney-verse.
head, yeah.
The Clooney verse.
You're killing us, Capote.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing for Joker 2. I haven't heard anything, but it seems to me that, yeah, I mean, nobody wants to see a Joker that's robbing banks while, shuffling around with a walker, or it's just like, well, this Joker.
Turning up his hearing aid.
Yeah, I know. It's like he's sitting in the old folks' home, It's like I don't know how old Joaquin.
Hold on.
Joaquin years old.
Yeah, but hold on. Let's just say it's the Robert Pattinson style Batman. He's about 25. He's a young billionaire, and he's in the 25 to 30 range. So Joker can still be making trouble at 70 or 65 or whatever. So it's
very
fine.
accurate Joker.
Joker's kind of like a Mr. Smith or Mr. Burns kind of person anyway. He's like 100 years old anyway, right? He just keeps plaguing Batman forever.
It's like the rock band Kiss, right? That's the genius behind Kiss, because with the makeup, you don't know they're 90.
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know they're old.
They don't move as fast, but on stage they look just like they did in the 70s.
Hey, speaking of Mick Jagger, how about all that Joker? Mark, you're the dancer in the group. How about all that red hot Joaquin Phoenix dancing in the movie?
Yeah, the dancing scene on those steps has become kind of a famous scene. I hear all the neighbors who live near those steps are getting really annoyed by all the tourists dancing down the steps. It's like, go away. We hate this movie. But I mean, Dave is right. With Kiss, they got all this white makeup on. It covers up their age. I mean, I think they're like, 123 years old under all that makeup. They're hobbling out on stage. But, once they're out there, nobody cares. So, I guess it's a good point. I agree. He could have been in the Robert Pattinson Batman movie. He probably should have been. It fits the tone. I think that would have been good. But I mean, who wants to see a series of Joker movies with no Batman? I mean, eventually it's like, when's Batman going to show up? I mean, I don't know if Batman's in Joker 2, but does anyone want to see like a whole franchise of just Joker with no Batman? I don't.
Well, especially Joker who kills his mother, completely delusional, just constantly getting kicked in the balls and punched, and just like everybody sort of hates him, and he's just a booger. He's a crazy mentally imbalanced booger that nobody really follows. So I'm like, I don't want to see more of the same for sure.
Well, no, it's like Taxi Driver 2. Nobody wants to see that movie. It's like Taxi Driver 2. This time he's mad. There's nowhere for the character to go. I mean, that's the end of the road for this guy.
Yeah.
So I don't see what they're going to do with Joker 2 that would be really worth much. They should have stuck him in the Batman. That's what they should have done.
Hey, I do have a question. In the Batman, at the end, when the Riddler's talking to somebody, do we know who he's talking to? And when he's at the
It's supposedly the Joker.
It is the Joker. Okay.
Yeah, because again, if you go to YouTube, there's a deleted scene where Robert Pattinson as Batman is talking to the same character, and we see a little bit more of a reveal through the smoky glass, and we know that it's the Joker.
But it's not what it's not what.
No, it's the little Irish actor. I got his name wrong last. Keogh is his last name.
Barry
Keogh. Thank you.
Oh, it's too bad they couldn't have put.
No, I think it's a huge missed opportunity to not have Joaquin Phoenix develop into the mastermind, who torments Batman, especially if it is his brother.
That would be
kind of interesting. Like,
we've got into Greek territory.
They're just two brothers tormenting each other.
Yeah.
Well, I don't understand why DC's stovepiping everything. I mean, I understand everyone said, well, we don't like Justice League. And and DC said, our attempts to build an MCU for DC were a miserable failure. Nobody likes it. So now we're just going to keep everything separate. We're going to have separate universes for everything. And I guess that's fine for, Wonder Woman or whatever. But it seems to me it's okay if you have Batman and Joker together. You don't need to keep them separate.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be together. That's the whole point. I think it's okay if you combine them. So I think, you're right. They should have had Joaquin Phoenix be in the Batman. I think that makes a lot more sense.
Me too. All right, let's move on to direction. Alex Robertson, you're a student of film cinema. What do you think of Todd Phillips' direction overall?
Well, I guess the best way to put it is something that Mark said earlier was the movie has more of an episodic feel. So in terms of vignettes, he seems to do okay. But in terms of a cohesive whole, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm watching a guy that maybe he was a good student in film, but he hasn't really developed his own style. I mean, if you're going to go to the masters and you can say, well, the masters had their influences, but the masters were always able to synthesize it into their style. And I just didn't see it. I was watching so many different movies, as
Yeah.
we mentioned before. And the second time around, it was like, okay, now I can add a few more movies to the pile. And I'm sure if I see it a third time, wow, they're even going into Pippi Longstock territory. How'd that happen? But
Shut your damn cotton picking
yeah, pretty much. Her mom pa kettle, I don't know.
No, that was seen from Pippi Longstockings when they were whispering, "What's the worst thing you could possibly say?" Oh, Pippi, what's the worst thing you could say? Shut your damn cotton picking mouth.
Dubbed, of course.
Very dubbed.
Very dubbed. No, just like with his writing, and I don't know. It's like he did pull a lot of punches with the writing, and maybe he does the same thing with the directing. And
I think the direction's better than the writing, for sure.
no,
I think
I'll
it's a
say
well
that, I'll
directed. I
say
think it's
that.
a really well directed film. I do.
guess it was the story. I guess there was just
Yeah.
no cohesive story. So, maybe Todd Phillips will deliver one day. He'll give us some movie that, wow, this is what he's really going to be remembered for.
Yeah.
It's possible. It's possible. Yeah, I mean, I think it's still it's a movie worth watching. I mean,
Yeah.
I would watch it again. I would.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, on the strength of Joaquin Phoenix, but also, when you have that time, you can start picking apart other things and maybe say, well, maybe I was wrong the first time. This is really good. Or
No, I'd say the
there's some
look.
brilliant
I'd say the
scenes.
look and feel of the film is very pervasive. It's
It
a way.
is.
It's almost as pervasive as Matt Reeves. I mean,
Matt Reeves.
there's a real
Okay.
sense of its own universe for sure. This
Well, it
trash
does.
infested
Yeah,
80s Gotham City looks and feels like its own thing for sure.
but I guess it's stuck between fantasy and reality. I mean, for me, it was like, would I be able to see Batman enter into this world? It would be weird. One of the
Mhm.
things you always brought up is, why doesn't anybody say who's the doofus with a cape running around beating people up? He would look just like every other freak on the street. Nobody would take him seriously in this world of the Joker.
Well, that's something to explore too, especially if it's Joaquin Phoenix's brother, some guy, some screwball in a Times Square cape and costume, beating the shit out of people.
Well, then,
Yeah.
and then you would have then you'd have a world where everybody loved the Joker just be on that.
Well, it
Just for
could be
that
interesting, but
fact, I
again,
don't
it
know.
delves into this is the mentally ill Batman series.
Yeah, and I
You
think
know?
wasn't it Darren Aronofsky going to try to
Yeah,
delve into that with his
Yeah,
failed
yeah.
script? Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't think the movie's a total loss. I just
No.
feel like it's missing, as we've all mentioned. Where's the story? Where's Waldo? Where's the
Where's the
plot?
leadership? Dave, do you
Yeah.
agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the film, I agree with your comment. The film, the look and feel, it felt gritty, dirty. But for me, I think if there was some cohesiveness, especially after talking about the Batman from last week, if there was some cohesiveness from, that Batman, and I know the Joker was obviously made before, 2019?
19.
Yeah.
It would be cool if there was some cohesiveness, and maybe then it would sit better with me. I don't know if that, rather than these individual, multiverses of this is the Joker.
But taken on its own term, did you appreciate all that? Did you like? I think it's well directed. I do
Oh
think
no,
it's
I
well-directed.
like the movie. I would watch it again. I
Yeah.
think, but I agree with Alex. I think mainly because of Joaquin Phoenix. I think his performance, he was amazing.
But I think it's well shot. I think it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, it's
shot.
yeah.
It doesn't
the
seem like a
scene-
dumb. It seems like it seems like it should be a smarter movie than it is, because it it looks really good.
No,
you know?
it looks cool. I did watch some scenes from Taxi Driver.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I got that same vibe from that. So I mean, I think he obviously pulled from Martin Scorsese's
Yeah.
Taxi Driver, and it had that same look, that same vibe. But no, I thought the visual was amazing. There were some amazing scenes and amazing shots, and the look of it.
Yeah. Mark,
I just wish there was cohesiveness. That's all between the Batman story and this one.
Absolutely. Mark, do you think it's a well-made movie?
Yeah, I thought it was really well made. I mean, they were clearly going for that Martin Scorsese late 70s gritty look that makes everything much more realistic. It's like what Alex was saying, though. That's a problem for comic book movies in a way, because, I mean, nobody wants to see an interconnected universe where, where this Joker, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, goes up against Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. That wouldn't make sense. Because Wonder Woman, as good a movie as the first Wonder Woman was, except for the ending, it is a comic book movie. Like what you were saying about how you want your comic book movies to be fun. Yeah. This movie doesn't seem like a comic book movie at all. It seems just like a character study, and they grafted a comic book movie on top of it. And like what Alex was saying before, you can't really do that with Batman very well, because I mean, the guy's running around at night beating up criminals. He's got pointy ears on his costume. I mean, every cop in the city would be making fun of this guy, saying this guy's a loon. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's got pointy ears, for God's sake. I mean, people would just think he was a joke. He wouldn't strike fear in the hearts of anybody. He'd be a Times Square character, like what you were saying. So it's well made. I'm not sure if it's the right approach for the Joker necessarily, or has anything to do with the comic book Joker at all. But on its own terms, in its own world, just about the Joker, I think the movie works on its own terms. You can argue whether comic book movies should do that, but that's the direction they went, and I think they did it about as well as they could.
Excellent. Bert, do you agree with that, or what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big, student of direction, but it was.
Okay, I'm going to cut in. You have to stop saying that. Just you watch movies, if does the movie work as on its own terms, like as a story of psychosis in a cold, hard, gritty city? Does it work? I think it works really well.
Yeah, it worked. There was that filth, was there. It wasn't like this squeaky clean set. It looked like real city. It had that element of it.
But it's not one of those dumb movies like, say, what's that James Cameron movie, Mark? That
Titanic?
No. It's
everyone knows the ending.
Strange Days.
Strange
Days. It's completely arbitrary how chaotic things are. Sometimes it's this has a very well, from shot to shot. There's always garbage on the street. It always just seems like the most depressing place on earth. Every shot. It's a very.
Well, I didn't know you would attribute that to direction.
Oh yeah.
Because I didn't. To me, a director just kind of tells he tells a cinematographer what to do, or what frames to take, and then he tries to get the actors to do, act the way he wants them to act. I don't know how else to say that. And so as far as that goes, I thought all that was fine. And
no, it's the director is the big boss. They're the CEO of the production, in a sense, while the thing is going on. And whatever mistakes happen is the director's fault.
Right. Well,
even if they have a million departments, there are a lot of directors who wouldn't keep it, who would be like, whoa, wait, we don't have trash bags in the shot. Every scene in Gotham City runs into the next. I will say that as a movie as a whole, the movie's very consistent.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a consistent mood. The only big quibble if you haven't caught on, is I don't think there's the Joker in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, my only complaint is my confusion of what's real and what's not, and maybe that was on purpose from the director. But
yeah.
So that's why I'm like, well, is that good direction or bad direction? Because I couldn't tell. I don't know.
Well, for sure. to me, my problem with the film is that it doesn't know ultimately where it wants to go, and it doesn't know what it really is. So it's like the Scorsese sort of homage, if I must use that word, and it's very well directed. Those dancing shots are great dancing shots. Everything is, I believe, everything that's happening, with the exception of Robert De Niro's grilling of Arthur Fleck on, like, let me bring this guy on so I can just yell at him what an idiot he is. Like, I just don't think that's the case.
So is the dancing for an homage to West Side Story? There's another one, right?
Good question.
Was
I think that's
Rita?
Joaquin
Was Rita?
Phoenix's
What's her
own
name in the
thing.
window on that one?
Yeah, Rita Moreno. Yeah, where was she in this?
Oh, yeah. Where was that glow? Where was that glow? That halo?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apparently Joaquin Phoenix said he the dance is based on Ray Bolger. He said that he loved watching old Ray Bolger dance scenes because he said there was like a certain arrogance to what he did. And he just thought that was a great wrinkle for this character.
Wow.
Well, he does a lot of dancing. There's a lot of dancing in this movie.
He does. Yes, he
Yeah,
does.
it's like a musical.
Yeah.
And again, we bring up Wizard of Oz from 1939. I guess that has a lot.
Oh, geez. Yes. Holy cow.
Well, there's the connection, I guess.
This movie.
So it is all a dream.
It's all a
all
dream.
a dream.
It's just,
But why was this? Okay, let's mark in. Let's jump into the political ramifications. But why was this movie taken as some sort of diatribe for the alt-right? Because I don't see it at all. I'm like, I don't think that they. I thought that was just sort of this press angle that they took, and you know it. Mark, what do you think? Why was this like heralded as some sort of battle cry for the MAGA crowd?
Well, I think it helps sell movie tickets if you try to make your film seem relevant to current issues. I get that.
Yeah.
I mean, it comes down to the basic question, should comic book movies be fun? It's like, do they have some kind of obligation to be fun? It's like, yeah, I like the Joker in my movie, but I want his psychotic murder to be fun. Gosh darn it, I want to be entertained by his crazy murders. I mean, at what point can you say, well, it shouldn't be doing that? And yeah, a lot of people did that. They said, oh, the Joker's an incel,
Yeah.
And, and he's, I don't know, after the Capitol riot, I guess if you want to put politics into it, I guess you could say that, he represents built up anger and stuff.
Hold on, stop. We have to go back to 2019 because people were before the Capitol riots, they were saying this about this movie, that it was sort of alt-right battle cry, and this is like, ooh, notice how it's a hit with frustrated young white men and all this, and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see it. I agree. I think they were hyping the movie or something, and it wasn't. And I don't think Todd Phillips really. Again, he pits him against Wall Street guys.
Yeah.
That's just to me, that isn't the case of the movie. So
I don't know if you know this, if we're going to chime in on that, but apparently Brett Cullen was not the original Thomas Wayne.
Oh.
It was going to be our good friend, Mr. Alec Baldwin.
Oh,
apparently he was initially cast, but dropped out due to
because he shot somebody.
He shot. No. Yeah. Hey, no, let's put this in context, Mr. Caputi. Some sort of scheduling conflict, and apparently, I guess, reading somewhere that he did see Thomas Wayne as kind of a tanned, orange-skinned, billionaire. It's like, oh God. Okay, maybe it was better, because I got to say this. I liked Brett Cullen as Thomas Wayne. I'm not a big fan, but Brett Cullen brings a certain something.
Yeah.
And like when we talked about the Thomas Wayne in the Batman movie, it was like, I wouldn't buy that. I wouldn't buy him for a second.
They really went to the bargain basement for their Thomas Wayne.
When Brett Cullen just socks him in the chops, hey, asshole, or whatever. Like, oh yeah, now we know where Batman gets his.
That's good. But it's interesting that Alec Baldwin was going to play that role. I did not know that. I've been saying for decades, Gino's sick of hearing this, that Alec Baldwin would have been a good choice to play Batman when he was young.
Well, he
back in
had
the
the look.
And I used to hate that idea, but now I've come to that he probably would have been a good Batman.
Well, my God, when you look at Alec Baldwin in the what is it, the early to mid '80s, thin,
yeah,
good-looking guy, boy.
Well, I didn't back then. I only seen Married to the Mobs and a few others. I hadn't.
Really,
He just wasn't tested. I didn't see. Obviously, Glenn Ross hadn't come out yet. I didn't know what he was capable of. I just thought he was kind of a pretty face who could sort of act. He probably would have been a very good Batman, but we'll never know, will we?
Yeah. Well, he could have played his dad, and that's interesting. I did not know that. That's an interesting.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's one of those little. I'm sure they'd like to sweep that under the rug.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you know, in fairness to Alec Baldwin, yeah, what woulda, coulda, shoulda, in an alternate universe.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's wrap it up. We've kind of already talked about this, but let's. David Johnson, will you watch this movie again?
Yeah, I like the Joker. Everything being said, and I think it's a great movie.
Would you say it's better than the Batman?
No, I like the Batman better.
Okay.
Yeah. But Joaquin Phoenix's performance, I think, is one of the best I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
As an actor.
Yeah, no, he truly deserved it. Burt Brown, would you watch this film again?
Yeah, I mean, I might not rush out to watch it again, but I would watch it again, if the opportunity came up.
Yeah.
So
I will say I liked it better the second time. The first time I was really arms folded, yelling to myself about how terrible it was. I like it more a second time. I think it's not a forgettable film for sure. Mark, would you agree with that? Go ahead.
Well, I like to watch some of them again, after these discussions, so that I can go, oh, that's what they were talking about. Oh, that's what
well,
just to kind of analyze it a little bit.
Tell your
more.
friends to do the same.
Yeah.
Let's get this thing beyond 30 listens. Mark, do you agree with that? Would you agree with that assessment?
Sure. Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good film. I understand your beef with the film. I get it. But I thought on its own terms, it worked. I mean, it didn't have a whole lot of plot. Your plot synopsis at the beginning of the show, I mean, you're not going to get more plot from the movie than you got out of just your brief synopsis right there. That's pretty much all the plot you're going to get out of this film. It's, like what Alex was saying, it's just a series of vignettes from the guy's life. Part of the reason I liked it, aside from like what you said about the good direction, is Joaquin's performance. It's a vehicle for Joaquin Phoenix. He's in every scene. It's all about him. The movie rises or falls on his performance, and he gives a great performance. So I got to say I liked it mostly just because of that.
And you have not seen The Batman yet, is that correct?
I have not seen The Batman as of yet, no.
Okay, so you will be keep a keen eye out for that film to become free somewhere, right?
I'm waiting for someone to videotape it in the theater and sell it.
Yeah,
nobody does that, Mark.
No.
All right, Alex Robertson, are you going to watch the Joker, or not the Joker, Joker again?
Joker, yes.
And second question, follow-up, are you anxiously awaiting Joker 2?
I think I am now, because for a number of reasons. I love the fact that in the beginning it was like, it's going to be a standalone movie. That's it. It's a one and done. Todd Phillips was adamant about it, but I guess
$1 billion just changed.
Yes, I
mind.
guess
What
when a check shows up, a 1 with 7 zeros following it, Oh,
hey, wait a minute.
I do have an idea.
Another castle in Scandinavia. Okay.
Now hear me out. In this one, the Joker becomes a motivational speaker.
One giant bag of money later. There's suddenly another script.
Yeah. The thing is, though, is what's Joaquin Phoenix going to do? Because he dropped 52 pounds for this movie. And that's not easy on the body.
Well, maybe he's playing Tim Burton's Joker.
Maybe he is. Yes. Crime has been great. Hit the belly. I don't know. If it's got Joaquin Phoenix, I would see it. I think he's one of those guys that, at this point he could do the phone book and he'd probably make some interesting choices.
What about the first movie? Will you watch that again?
Yes, I will. I will. I will. You know,
Right?
and also not just him, but when you start looking at some of the other performances and who really worked and who didn't.
I don't think there's nobody who
I don't
doesn't
think
work.
there's no standout performances. In fact, I never got a chance, but my favorite other performance was Glenn Fleshler, who plays Randall, the abusive co-worker.
Yeah.
That's a guy that I like. I've been enjoying a lot. He's just one of those character actors that's been popping up, and it's like, he's one of those solid go-to guys that you
How
can
about Shea Wighham or whatever winning or
I didn't enjoy him as much because I didn't think he was given much in this
No,
movie.
he
No,
wasn't.
I've enjoyed him in other things. It was like, yeah, I wanted more of Shea in this movie.
Yeah. Well,
Say
for sure everybody takes a back seat to Joaquin Phoenix in this movie.
Yeah. But some do,
Yeah.
get a chance to shine. Brett Cullen. I mean, I was really surprised.
Yeah.
My first experience with him was the Replacements with Keanu Reeves, where he plays the
Not Apollo 13?
He was okay. You're right about that, but it was such a brief. When he really had a presence on the screen, and he came across like a soap actor in that movie. But watching this, it's like, yeah, he's good. He is.
Yeah. Well, you give enough years on anybody and they become a character actor, right?
Yeah, they do. No, they do.
Yeah.
No.
Someday Leonardo DiCaprio will have this horribly liver-stained face and boy, that guy's good. He looks like an old crusty bastard.
Drunk, running kids off his lawn,
All right, everybody. Any final thoughts? We're gonna call it good. Oh, and there's the Joker's kids.
Yeah, okay. I don't know where that came from.
That's Mark's son.
Yeah, I'm sorry about my son. He's
a kid can only
he's having
stay
a
quiet for
tantrum
so
in the
long.
background. He's method acting the Joker himself at the moment. He has to do that when he's cranky.
Mark, 1,000 thanks for keeping it quiet that long. That's amazing. Even I can't do that on my own show. All right, everybody. Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining for the first time. Dave, Bert, I'll see you hopefully soon.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
All
Thanks,
right.
everybody. Have a good night. Happy Mother's
Yeah,
Day.
thanks.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, all you mothers.
Yeah. Except the Jokers.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Fabulous Film and Friends. Copyright 2022, a Bel Air Films production.